Hey everyone, welcome to Remap Radio episode... Gia. What number is
120.
it? Wow!
It's 120.
It's 120.
It's 120.
It's in my head. Sorry, it's fresh in my head.
I will
A
take
kill
it.
steal on the episode number is insane.
I can't believe you've done this.
I looked at the last schedule yesterday because I was like, I wonder what number tomorrow's episode is. So it's
When
just in
I
there.
wake up in my own pink world. Hey, Barbie. What episode is it? It's 120.
You ever think about death and stuff?
It would have been a really good way to do it. Just to call back to, 2 years ago. Today I'm joined, as you have already heard, by our producer, Chia Contreras,
Hello.
Janet Garcia,
Hello.
and Danika Herod.
Hello.
Rob is lost in the internet. We did an episode of HOA that I don't know when folks will hear, in which the first 30 minutes, Rob's bouncing in and out, trying to... Okay, stuff happens. He moved rooms in his place, and that's just part of what's going on. And then about 30 minutes in, you'll hear this. You'll wonder to yourself, Patrick seems to do a lot of listening, not a lot of talking in this podcast, because it became increasingly aware it's already difficult to interject on a video call and make sure you don't step on people, even in the best of circumstances and with webcams, that stuff still happens, but it's just impossible. So I do some laughing, some good moments that I laugh to, and then I know. So if you the service we use to do the video stuff is called Riverside, and it is continuously uploading, your file as you go along, and I just watched Rob's file lose the fight over time. Just I can't do it. I can't upload. And I was like, all right, well, I think something is going on with Rob's connection. So Rob tried to jump on today, hoping that he would have a good connection. He did not. It was clear within moments that I don't think this was going to happen. And so hopefully Rob will be back with us next week. As always, we are a reader-supported show and website. If you enjoy Remap Radio and wish to become a supporter, you can learn more at remapradio.com/sign up, or just click the orange button in the upper right corner of the website. Our subscribers let us keep doing the shows, the streams, and articles that define Remap, and also check in to our wobbly internet connections. It feels like there's kind of no place to start this week except with a story that started last week, but that even as of moments before this recording had some new developments. And also, who just doesn't want to ask Janet, do you want to play the game with horse sex at 7:30 in the morning right before we kick off into the podcast?
Is there sex
Way to
in
start
it? I
today.
haven't seen it yet.
There's sex.
Okay,
There's-
I don't
well-
know. Can you explain the game? Because I don't
There's
know.
fornication.
There's
which
fornication.
is-
That's
Okay.
true. That is true. That is true. Definitions matter.
Definitions matter.
I played the first 2 days. So, but I don't. Yeah.
So, Horses is a game. I'll read from the description on one of the few websites you can purchase this game as the number goes down, as the hours go on. From Itch. 14 days. And the game's called Horses, if you didn't pick up on it. 14 days, a horse farm, and a few rules to follow. Take a break from your college coursework and spend the summer helping out on a secluded farm. The air is warm, the horses are quiet, and the people are down to earth. Each day brings new tasks, and the work itself is simple, even if the goals are a little unclear. Sometimes, after the sun sets on a productive day, there are even activities to be found in the evenings. Horses is a first-person game with live... Okay, this is a deceptive description of what this video game is. Yes, technically, are you a college boy on a farm, and are there horses by definition? There are. Horses is a game that comes from a developer we've talked about in the past in the context of the game Wheels of Aurelia, which I think was delisted from the App Store. I know Janet, you had said you really enjoyed that game. It was delisted from the App Store as a result of not wanting to keep up with. You have to keep updating games in the App Store according to new guidelines, new technical constraints, and eventually that game got pushed out because the developer was like, why should we keep having to update this game from 10 years ago? And I think you can still buy it on the eShop on Switch, which I think is where Janet ended up pointing people towards. It comes from the studio Santa Rangioni. They're known for, as I said, Wheels of Aurelia, Saturnalia, and Mirror Moon EP. Very much an experimental, artsy, indie sort of studio. Really interesting art styles, different relationships with what is gameplay, what are mechanics, how crucial is that to the experience of playing a game. And horses, yes, you're a boy on a farm, but I guess spoilers for horses, but it's sort of, we're not going to be, we don't necessarily have to get into everything that happens in the game. None of us have beaten it. I've played about half of it. Others, the rest of us have touched it in various degrees. Kind of can't talk about a little bit of what's actually going on without sort of, we have to talk about sort of what's actually happening on Steam and other platforms. You discover that these horses are human slaves. They are wearing horse masks. Maybe they're wearing a dog mask. Lots of stuff is happening, but these people are being kept in confinement for violating societal norms. We don't know what that means. Maybe that is alluded to deeper into the game, but that is the premise that is unveiled to you early on. You have people that come and check out these horses, purchase these horses, ride on these horses. The horses are explicitly not allowed to, as the game puts it, fornicate. The horses are whipped. They are enslaved. There is a lot going on here in horses, and we can get into how we feel about the game and what it's trying to execute, whether it does so successfully, whether it sort of stirred anything in us. But it is a provocative game. It is an intentionally provocative game that is trying to get a reaction out of the player, the person experiencing it. The reason there are lots of these games that you can find on itch and other places. The reason horses sort of rose in sort of discussion over the past week is specifically because ahead of its release, and we should note, this is a game that was featured in multiple sort of horror-centric game events, was featured in Double Fine's Day of the Devs event at one point. So a game that has been seen, vetted, played in various industry standard sort of experiences. Not a game that is coming out of nowhere to put up its hand and say, sort of why me. But in this case, it was submitted to Steam in 2013 or 2023, in a unfinished state. Steam asked for a playable version of the game so that the developers could put a coming soon page, so you can start generating wish lists and interest when you start featuring yourself in showcases. Valve, according to developers, rejected the game without a real explanation. The developer has said they have theories about that rejection, including the original submission of the game featuring a young girl riding on the shoulders of a naked adult woman. That scene is now modified in the final game. Valve, who decided to not allow the game and not allow them to appeal or find any way for the game to be featured or sold on Steam, told Games Industry Biz this in a statement. We reviewed the game back in 2023. At that time, the developer indicated with the release date in Steamworks, which is a back-end part of Steam for developers, that they plan to release a few months later. Based on content in the store page, we told the developer would need to review the build itself. This happens sometimes if content on the store page causes concern that the game itself might not fall within our guidelines. After our team played through the build and reviewed the content, we gave the developer feedback about why we couldn't ship the game on Steam, consistent with our onboarding rules and guidelines. A short while later, the developer asked us to reconsider the review, and our internal content review team discussed that extensively and communicated to the developer our final decision that we're not going to ship the game on Steam. The game had been rated by a sort of a submission process by the ESRB and PEGI, which is the European rating agency, as in the mature category, not adults only. It had been approved for a time to be on the Epic Game Store. In fact, initial PR outreach from the developer distributed Epic Game Store keys that could be redeemed and played with. It was to be also released on itch and Humble. Epic removed the game at the last second after Steam confirmed they were not going to list the game. Epic said in a statement,
right?
Yes. Well, this week, in by the time the podcast comes out, over the course of the last week, a lot of this has happened. And Epic said, Quote, we are unable to distribute horses on the Epic Game Store because our review found violations of the Epic Game Store content guidelines, specifically the inappropriate content and hateful or abusive content policies. The inappropriate content policy prohibits content which contains explicit or frequent depictions of sexual behavior or not appropriately labeled, rated, or age-gated. The hateful or abusive content policy prohibits content that promotes abuse and animal abuse. This content is prohibited by our guidelines and cannot be distributed on the Epic Game Store. Additionally, when we, Epic, filled out the questionnaire based on the content that we received for the IARC questionnaire on the content we received, it received an adults-only rating, which seems to be, I say, reading between the lines, the Epic insinuating that the developer submitted a version of the game or the content of the game to a ratings questionnaire to forcibly allow it to have a mature rating as opposed to an AO rating. I had written this last night as I prepped this document. As of this recording, this game remains on itch, GOG, and Humble. Well, we can cross one of those out. Humble is no longer
Oh my God, I
listing
missed
the
that.
game. GOG put out a statement saying, we're proud to give horses a home on GOG, giving players another way to enjoy the game. We've always believed the players should choose the experiences that speak to them. When Humble removed the game, I was actually able to reach out to the developers quickly this morning and ask, what's up? And they said they seemed equally confused. The developers told me in a statement, we were initially given confirmation that they'd be distributing a DRM-free version once Epic folded, and that's what happened when the game went live. Today, the page seems to be down, and maybe they've changed their mind? They have not communicated any change to us. I've emailed them a few hours ago to figure out what happened, but haven't heard back yet. We'll report back as soon as I find anything out. So we're recording this on Wednesday morning. My guess is there will be some form of a statement similar to Epic and Steam that Humble will also end up distributing. It's a reminder, Humble is owned by IGN, who is owned by Ziff Davis. And so I have a feeling some sort of trickle effect of forwarding of this game is in the headlines for being controversial, and then someone far above decided to take it down from Humble. That is not reporting, that is just my speculation. But that catches us up to right now.
The review of horses is still up on IGN.
The review?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. It's just like saying the
I think it
line
should
from
go
IGN
somewhere.
to
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ. Like you were like the line you were pointing out of
Right.
the connection through like
No, it's a good point. It's and I did a bunch of reporting back at Waypoint about IGN getting in a lot of some really tough internal fights with management over, I think, their pro-Palestinian support. This is a couple of years back. If you search some headlines for that, I'm sure you'll find more detail on that. But it wouldn't be the first time that management has stepped in on editorial. But my suspicion is here that would probably not happen. Though I do wonder, I guess the one question there is, like, will IGN report on Humble taking down that's the one part where I wonder if
Right,
management would step in. Anyway. That
as of right
catches
now,
us-
they have an update on the review.
They do?
about the Epic Game Store one.
Okay. Now
And
look,
so that one hasn't been updated yet. It just happened. So
Rebecca
we'll see.
Valentine, who heads news there, is one of the toughest in the biz. Takes no
Yeah.
shit. And so if that does not end up there, it will not because Rebecca didn't go swinging there. So I'm just curious if anyone puts their foot down there. Well, I suspect Rebecca will at least be able to put up a statement or mention an update. But that catches us up on where we're at. There are so many places we could go with this, between the conservative movement to try and take down more adult-oriented content on platforms like Steam.
Speak of the devil, sorry. I looked up Rebecca Valentine on a separate, aside from the review. Review
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been updated, but in a thing about the Epic Game Store, updated it this morning to say Humble.
Okay,
And made
good.
the connection between the. It was
Oh,
like,
good,
hey,
good.
right after I posted this thing, then the next thing happened.
Someone read the
So-
website
Yeah.
that they own.
God.
And they
I
say
really
people don't
yeah,
read
think that's
websites
what happened.
anymore.
Yeah, literally, here's the line, the update from Rebecca Valentine. Following the publication of this story, which was about the Epic ban, Humble has also made the decision to delist horses from its storefront. We have updated the story below to reflect this change. IGN has reached out to Humble for comment. Humble and IGN are both owned and run by IGN Entertainment, a subsidiary of Ziff Davis Incorporated.
That's got someone's
Hopefully they
RSS
get a
feed.
statement then.
Jesus.
What if they
that's-
don't? Like, imagine not getting a statement from Humble on why they delisted
Oh
it
my
when
God.
you're
You
both
just
owned by
message
the
Humble
same
on
company.
Slack. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, they're
You're in
right.
the same Slack, probably.
Going to
Sometimes you text your family and you don't get a response in the group chat. Like,
so
you know
true,
what I mean? It's
so
like,
true.
So, like I said, there are a lot of ways we can go with this, but Janet, you follow a lot of indie games, maybe not necessarily the horror space, but you've covered a lot of this work and these platforms. Like, what springs to mind as you scan through this story and I'd say ups and downs, but mostly downs that have occurred since Thanksgiving and up to when we're talking about it now.
yeah, I was telling Chia right before we started recording. I'm like, it sucks that like every time we talk about the studio, it's like the studio's worst business day that they're having. It's like, oh, this thing's from out. So I think that's really unfortunate. But I am really glad to see them continue to make really interesting narrative games. Like, I'm a big fan of narrative in the space. Again, not the biggest horror fan, was afraid playing this game early in the morning with my headphones on, which is not how I normally game. So that was a little bit much for me. Some intense shots there, but
No
yeah,
jump
I mean,
scares.
like,
No jump scares, I'll say. At least not 90 minutes
Oh,
into it.
good.
know-
Good. Okay, good.
anything
Well,
can
depends on
scare
your-
you if
okay.
you're
big
enough of a bitch.
violins playing while somebody, like, I'm just saying it's not in the traditional horror. Like, there are
No, but there's a bit
scary
there's
things.
There are things. There's a particular corner that I've come to know of the building that like turning that corner is horrific in and of itself.
Yeah, I'll
Sorry,
report
Janet.
back as far as scaredy cats go on how scary is this for someone who's always scared. But yeah, I mean, I think like I have the sentiment that I imagine a lot of us share, right? Which is like the importance of allowing art to be art and the video game medium to be able to do things that are pretty run of the mill for like every other medium. I mean, even just like playing this morning, where it's like, oh, like it feels very obviously the content is serious and dark subject matter, but the way it's done does not feel, by any means much different than what you might see like in a film or in a book. And I think, like it's great to see them not necessarily taking a stand because they're kind of just like, trying to put out their work there, but being able to get attention from outlets and get the conversation moving on, hey, this is what's happening. Here's the context and like, here's why it matters. And I think the real big thing that I take from a situation like this is how important it is to rally around things like this happening, because it's like, if it's happening in one spot, it's going to come from more games and be more of a problem. And also the kind of like almost like with the layoffs where I talk about the games that we'll never get because like developers will quit, get laid off, or maybe not even pursue development. Like the thing that I think is troublesome about situations like this is it's not just the game horses that's affected, but it's the developers at other studios, the people making games that are going to decide maybe this is a story that we shouldn't pursue because of what happened, and kind of just discouraging that as well. So even obviously, it kind of goes without saying that this shouldn't just come down to like, do you think Horses is a game that you're excited about and a game that you want to play, and thus looking at it from that selfish stand, but looking at it from a more all-encompassing view of the medium and what it might mean for like that larger conversation, and why that should be something that you're passionate about if you like video games, even if you're never going to play a game like this, even if you don't like horror, you don't like narrative, you don't like the studio's projects, whatever the case may be, like this matters for the medium at large. I think is the big takeaway that I have looking at this story.
I've had a really big problem. Like, I love hearing you say all of this because I've had a really big problem with, I don't comment on like the discourse of the day anymore, but some of the stuff that I've seen around this game is like the people who are talking about the game and what is happening on Steam, the people who are talking about the people who are talking about the game and what is happening on Steam. And one of the big things that I was seeing last week, or when this first happened with the Steam announcement, was people saying, while I don't necessarily agree with this type of content, I also don't think that the game should be banned from Steam. And then people were getting very upset about that, I think rightfully so. I just feel like the way that people talk, people are so careful when they talk about things like this. And so it's nice to hear Janet kind of just talking about how important art like this is in the space. Because I was having a hard time.
I have not played it in its entirety, and I want to sort of like have a conversation separate from all this about our reaction to it. But I would point out this is not a game that is misunderstanding that it's intending to be provocative. It is not. It does not approach the player as like that. That what you're about to experience is going to be surprise. It's uncomfortable. Like when you start the game, it has 2 really long disclosures to the player. And I'll read from here. This game contains scenes of physical violence, psychological abuse, gory imagery, mutilation, blood, depictions of slavery, physical and psychological torture, domestic abuse, sexual assault, suicide, and misogyny. The inclusion of these elements is intended to depict and characterize a fictional world and its fictional inhabitants. The presence of these elements is not an endorsement of them, nor do they reflect the beliefs or values of the creators. The game presents distressing and morally uncomfortable situations. At times, progression may require actions that conflict with the player's personal values, including participation in oppression, coercion, and physical harm. Some scenes also feature unsettling sounds, such as chewing and swallowing. That is true. Which may be disturbing for players with sound sensitivities or related phobias. Character dialogue also includes references to psychological trauma that may be upsetting, especially for players who may have had similar experiences in their past. Player discretion is advised. If you feel uncomfortable or upset while playing, please consider stepping away or reaching out to someone you trust. And the 2 options below are quick game and accept and continue. So, I mean, this is a piece of art that understands it's going to provoke strong reactions and wants to make sure that the audience is prepared for that. And the thing that this makes me really think about is the centralized role that Steam plays in the success or failure of artwork, of games in sort of the gaming marketplace, in which people do not broadly go other places. Like, there are other places to purchase these games. There are, like itch, absent the like right-wing moralizing, the war being raged on like sort of like the payment processor front, which is a very real thing that gets at, look, if it can't exist on Steam because they're going to play it safe, they're going to be conservative with the content. Like, they'll list hentai, but like they won't list this. Fine. But like then we need to have spaces where this artwork can not only exist, but be profitable or bring in some form of income so that the artist can continue to make this work. And if on one hand, Steam can't provide that, but places like Itch can, okay, great. Let Itch thrive. Well, it's not enough for these right-wing kooks like that want to moralize to those who are mature enough to accept complicated works of art that will like make us feel uncomfortable. They want all that stuff taken down. They don't want it to exist at all. So I find that stuff really upsetting on multiple fronts, but also I think the reason this stirs so much is because there's the belief, and it's because it's mostly true, that if you aren't on Steam, there is not a path to profitability in making a video game. And a denial from Steam is a denial to the primary marketplace in order to make money creating art. And that is putting aside that Steam is already its own lottery system in terms of like whether you'll get the proper exposure, injection into the algorithm, but you're banned from even the opportunity to grab a lottery ticket if you aren't on Steam, which is why alongside a lot of this news was the studio wrestling with the notion that if we can't get on any of these places, then the studio might go under because our meager financial expectations for horses might not be able to met if we can't go where people have a credit card saved.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary. Like, I just cannot imagine being a game dev and being in this situation where you're a small, super small studio. You have goals for the game, and a lot of those goals, I'm sure, rely on things like wish list numbers and purchase numbers, and then you just get an entire source of potential income completely removed. And also losing Steam and losing Epic. That's a huge blow.
Right. And I think it speaks to that centralized, like, look, Steam has taken dominance because it's a really good service. People have had it for a long time. That stuff is difficult to get people to give up. And yet, the fact that it's so centralized means it has to take this outsized importance for developers. And you combine that with an opaque, hard to navigate appeal submission system in which the difficulty, it's funny because the difficulty in navigating Steam's appeal process, trying to get answers, trying to understand why they make the decisions they do, even just as like a regular, average, everyday consumer person, like it's so hard to just get answers, like navigating any customer service like tree these days, like put aside like Steam, like this speaks to such a broad, it's like AI, it's everything. Like just being able to have a person tell you why a thing is the way it is so hard with everything these days. And then the stakes are raised so much higher when it's your livelihood, it's your artistic pursuit as part of that process, which is just, can you tell us what is the offending bit in this game that is preventing us from being able to publish it? When you have a movie go through the rating system, like the MPAA tells you, take out like this dick shot, or like you can't have it be a PG-13, or like it will go from R to X. Like they're hyper specific on it's moralizing. It is part of, especially America's propensity towards preferring violence over sex. But at least you have an answer over like what the problem is from their perspective and what you can do about it. The issue here is the developer having to theory craft on what exactly is the offending imagery that crosses the line. And while I have not played all of Horses, I've played half of it. And there's literally nothing here that I haven't seen before in some form, or I wouldn't personally consider worse material that exists already on Steam that they actively profit from.
Remember Doki Doki Literature Club? I'm just like thinking of that as like, I'm thinking of other games that I personally have played where I'm like, I don't know that Horses should have been banned from Steam while other games could just continue to exist on the platform. It's interesting. Also, I haven't is the nudity is all blurred, right?
As far as I can tell.
Which I was surprised by.
Yeah, I was surprised about too. I was expecting to see like
what are we
full
even
cock and
talking
balls when I
about?
opened the game, and there was just nothing. It was all censored.
Well, I think maybe that is a good point for us to pivot here to, I think it's, what do they say? There's 21 nights or something like that. I forget exactly.
14
because it's 2 weeks.
Oh, so I'm actually further along than I thought. We'll see what happens in the ones remaining. But I've played 8 or 9 days of Horses, and
Played 4.
Look, I think it's interesting. I don't know what all the fuss is about. Like, and I mean that's sort of on two fronts. Like, it's and Horses is it takes a silent film aesthetic, right? It really feels, there's a lot of dialogue, but it's not voiced. Very minimalist from a aesthetic perspective, and what it's surfacing for the player. Like, I don't have, look, I've seen a lot of shit. I watch a lot of horror, and so maybe I'm sort of desensitized. I don't know that if you had just put Horses in front of me and said, like, hey, here's the thing, like, play for a couple hours, I'm not sure what it talks about on this podcast. And I'm not saying that to be sort of dismissive of Horses. And, like, I think it's interesting. I don't know that it's that interesting. And, like, that makes me, like, look at all of this and go, what
are we doing?
Right? Like, I'm sorry, I've played more provocative, like, more, like, thumb-pressing video games in like, the thriller and horror space. And, like, I still think Horses is worth playing. I think it's worth finding out, like, what is all the fuss about? And I think it's worth playing, especially in the context of, like, what are the new moral lines in the culture that are being drawn that are going to define what access to art you have and the gatekeepers that are defining where those lines are. I think on that front, it is worth playing Horses to understand where these gatekeepers are drawing those lines. But I kind of played it, was like, seems cool. Like, I'm going to finish it. I'll be glad I played it. It's not going to be on my top 10 list. Like, it just ain't unless something changes towards the end. And it's just a funny place to be. But I'm curious where the three of you, like, have ended up on Horses so far.
I'm much earlier, so I definitely don't have any big, like, sweeping, big critical flags to plant in the sand yet. I like the cinematography aspect of it, like the way they kind of have the smaller shots, like, over the like larger viewpoint. The super close camera for the dialogue is scary,
The camera
like in
shots
a
are
way
really
that
good.
I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun sound design stuff going on as well. Though, fun being kind of a funky word in this context. But no, I mean, I also agree with like the content side. Obviously, I'm very, very early. I'm much earlier than you, Patrick. But this feels like, yeah, I mean, it's a dark game, but it doesn't feel, while it is meant to be shocking, it doesn't feel like anything so far has been done for like shock value in a way that is
I agree.
Yeah.
meant to feel. And even in that case, I feel like that's as far as censorship goes, or like what should be allowed. Like unless you're literally making something that's like literally problematic, I don't think there's anything wrong with like it's not a crime to miss a mark either, right? Like I've played games that there's a game I played called Transference. It's a VR game. I played it on PSVR, and frankly, it's a game that I think is a little bit too like, I wouldn't say voyeuristic with its depiction of abuse, but I just feel like the way they go about it is a little like I don't think they like execute it quite well. Really interesting game. It's like a puzzle game with like dark story undertones. But that's not a crime, right? Like that's like a part of when I reviewed it, what I discussed on whether or not I thought they handled like sensitive subject matter in a way that felt like it was, giving good commentary in an intriguing way and not just being like something shocking to look at. Yes,
with like the darkness that it was, trying to engage with as a like you responded as a player, as someone experiencing it, and like, you can fall on the lines of like, hey, you tried, this was a little risky, like I don't think you nailed it. That doesn't mean they shouldn't try. You're just
exactly
saying, I don't think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Which is
so whether or not this nails it or not remains to be seen for me because I haven't gone further into it. But I just wanted to bring that up as well for the idea of the like, do you the kind of conversation that you brought up, Danika, of like agreeing with the content. It's like if I don't like how you execute something, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Like outside of things that are literally like crossing like legality lines of, oh, you're depicting something that's like illegal or gross or something, or like you're clearly putting, what I mean, like so that's something I wanted to point out. But I will say my gut reaction was like, man, I gotta go back to playing like more weird shit. I feel like in the time of cleaning up Game of the Year lists, I'm like, yeah, we're so back. So
I miss a weird executable that I don't know what's going to be on the other side. Like,
yeah,
you got a virus in there? Let's find out. Let's go in.
It's so yeah. So I did. I think the Indian experimental like fan in me was very much like, oh man, I'm excited to play something that feels interesting. I mean, I think it's a big part of what I pursue in games. Like there are so many games that I end up playing that I maybe don't, heavily enjoy or don't end up thinking or like good, but I like the pursuit of different things and being able to walk away with like thoughts on stuff that I don't normally get to see. So that's really what I think like the indie space thrives in. So I was excited to sit down and play this, and I do plan to also finish it. With it also not being, too long of a game. I finished so many games that I've enjoyed way less that are much longer that it's like, hell
could
yeah.
one fit in an experience of horses?
Whoa.
Wow.
How many
Not-
experimental, avant-garde, genre-pushing games could you have played, Janet?
Oh my
instead
god,
of
an
Persona?
insane amount. Because what did I
Every
hold on,
single one that exists.
calculate? What's let's see. God, what would you put like an experimental game at? 90 minutes maybe?
If that.
Let's do a little quick math. Probably like 100 to like 200. Basically.
Well, let's not
It's
dwell
like
on
game
that
for
too
200
much.
hours.
She has I think like most artistically inclined of from like the art world space. I'm fascinated.
Immediately agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, two questions. One,
She has a sewing machine.
Masters
So
in
what do you
studio
think
art.
about?
I'm sorry.
so two questions. I'm curious what you think of the work based on what you played, and two, I in the art world there are instances in which provocative art that is meant to be like, you shouldn't see this. Like we're pushing, like generating headlines around like the fact that it's pushing boundaries. Like sometimes happens. I'm curious if you've had any experience like around spaces like that, the conversations that happen, and like what are the motivations for artists that are like, your response is like actually meant to be about the culture responding that like this is too much sort of stuff. So from both angles, I'm curious what you make of it.
No, I feel like it's very funny. Just like the like in the art world, I feel like there's like the boundaries tend to be a lot more from without than within. Like the like there's not like a like, you know, everyone knows about the Piss Christ, right? Y'all know about Piss Christ?
You should at least set it up again. Like
Yeah.
it's scratching like something in the
Piss
back of my
Christ?
head.
Every
but
time I join this
Yes.
podcast, I learn a new
anytime I can
thing
hear about
that
the Piss Christ again, I'm saying, tell me about that Piss Christ.
Yeah, so it's a photograph by oh god, Andres Serrano, right? Yeah, that's the name. That's his name. Of a I searched his name and it was like literally the first thing that came up. Can I drop it in our chat?
I got it. I put it in our Discord.
Yeah. My Discord is fucked up and I can't see the chat. So.
Oh, it's actually Jesus in P.
Yeah. It is a photograph in the artist's piss. You can't really tell necessarily without the thing. It's just like this weird, like, you know, orange glow that's happening to the thing. You're like, is it submerged in something? Like, what is the thing? But then it's just named Piss Christ. Like, the controversy that this thing got was from outside of the art world, but within the art world itself,
Of
like,
course.
the critics and the like gallery that showed it, like there was no issue, right? The like amount of things that I feel like in games get caught up, like in the specifically in like the platform holders and like is like just like no one-to-one in the art world. It's like kind of bizarre, honestly. Like if there's controversy, it's usually from outside groups and like
Protests
usually,
and things like that.
right? Like so it's just like,
Well, definitely I'm sure Christians were pissed.
well, yeah, they
I'm sure there was. I'm
Get
sure
it?
there was
Get it? They were pissed.
they were
No?
Wait a second.
wait, the fact that you did that in the
Wait a
beginning,
second.
stop.
You did that wasn't on purpose.
It actually became clear to me she wasn't like doing any pause. That was like, oh,
Right,
I think that's just.
Like nobody, like, I mean, not nobody, but like people didn't really blink an eye, and like some of it at a certain point, even like edge pushing in and of itself becomes kind of trite. Of just like, if all you're doing is edge pushing with your like artwork, then like what's the point? Kind of, it's like if you're edge pushing towards a point, right? It can't be the end, it's a means to an end. It's kind of like where I feel like a lot of the vibes around like edgy art in like the art world is. So it's like, yeah, if it makes sense, like it's like nobody really like bats an eye at like the content as much as like you get like people who are not like interested in art writ large, are just like interested in what quote unquote culture can be consumed by people complaining about it, right? I think the game itself like is so far like I'm enjoying it. I'm only on like day 5. I stopped at the title screen of day 5, and but ultimately isn't like I was surprised, right? Like that this is what got hit by the even like I can't imagine yet, especially like if they're like I haven't hit the point that the developer thinks is, because again they haven't had specific feedback. The part that the developer thinks is the like the problem area, but what I've seen so far is like, yeah, I've seen like it's a little like, okay, I get your references here to like Italian cinema, cool. Yeah, like my first thought was actually it was very funny. I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of doing an Equus thing, like the human body is replacement for like another animal, and then like it turns into something slightly different, right? Where it's like, oh, this isn't just like a one-to-one like replacement as much as a like more it's not like a metaphorical replacement. It's like a literal one, right? Like I just hit that bit of the game. It's like, okay, I'm interested to see where this is going. Like I don't see what Steam has seen yet, and I think it's probably not in there, honestly. Like as far as like
I hit one. It's hard to
and
tell.
it's just,
Like I don't want to spoil.
right.
Like, but I got to a very explicit sexual interaction involving the player character. That is it? Is this it? And even that is like we're mostly doing implication here,
right?
You know what I mean? And it's like it's just that it's I as the player shouldn't have to be sitting here now. I'm parsing that because I'm like a critic and a journalist and I'm podcasting about it, so I'm trying to like engage with the art from a slightly different lens. But like I played an hour and a half and was just like, I'm the rabbit with
where's
the clock
where's
meme. I'm
where's
like,
the thing? Yeah,
where is it? Like I'm waiting. Like, I'm waiting.
What is?
I'm here to be
and, like, I
offended
think-
and upset, and I'm a little upset at the buffet that's been served so far.
Yeah. I think it's doing some interesting stuff with the mix of FMV. There's already been some like
Agreed.
striking images that have been kind of repeated in ways. One early thing is that got me, which I thought was a little thing, and I wonder whether or not, like, when we discuss it like further, there's like a bit with water that happens that I like. It's like interesting to take note when things are kind of pulled out and filmed. Like that seems to have been so far very kind of pointed about which moments get that sort of treatment. Also, I do really like it's an interesting way to deal with the thing that you were mentioning, Janet, where like there's like a little like basically picture in picture in the lower corner. Those are all interactables usually, or like hints, which I like. I was about to walk by the first one, and then it popped up, and I was like, "Oh, I can."
Oh
go
yeah, you
want to
like
thing.
move around and see if
yeah,
because you
yeah,
can
yeah.
usually interact with it, or you get like a pop up of dialogue or something.
It like, but it also kind of plays with the like visual like language that they're working with. So I thought there's interesting stuff happening here, and none of it like I feel like even like I don't know like fucking. I feel like Postal 3 is worse than this game. Like, and like we'll see, right? Because I'm not as far in as Patrick, but still, like, it seems kind of patently ridiculous so far that this was ever that's even like pinged on their stuff, or if it did ping at some point that they didn't.
It didn't unping.
Yeah, that like it wasn't like this is kind of like on the edge, could you change this, versus like this very like hard like no, never, right?
I saw a Blue Sky post from Dominic Terrason that says, to clarify, there's nothing in this game that wouldn't pass muster in an M-rated film. There are people spreading malicious rumors about it, claiming that it is more extreme. It reminds me of Night Trap, supposedly one of the most transgressive games of its age. Reality, it's milder than Power Rangers.
Oh my god, that's
a great
Power
comparison
Rangers,
point.
but
I'm a big
Yeah.
wimp. I'm a big wimp. Janet, you're not the only one. I'm like, I can't really watch horror movies. I can't handle gore. I can't handle like, I just faint. I'm like the definition of a wimp. And I'm playing this game and with my headphones in, and I'm fine. I'm chilling. Like, it's a little bit scary because the mood of the
vibes are
the
like,
mood,
ooh,
mood of like the audio is it feels like something is going to happen at any given moment, but like so far, even the moments where there's like a big audio cue and you see something have not felt, scarier than mild moments in like Chainsaw Massacre or something like that. Like it feels fine.
Yeah. So
What's
Okay.
all
I think I
the
wanted
fuss
to-
about?
yeah. I think I wanted to double check too about this and kind of its relation to film. I went over to the Criterion website just to take a look, and I'm clicking through on the shop things I could buy from them. None of these have ratings listed, right? you assume at this point that like if an adult is coming to buy a film, like it doesn't particularly matter what the ratings board says about it, because they're all obviously like meant to be consumed by adults in a certain way, right? Like,
but also film has developed a culture in which people understand
so much
going to other
shit
places
out there that is like, this is one of the greatest films ever, and people talk about it, and it's not like, if it were to get a rating, maybe something hits NC-17 in like America, but like it's still like that culture has had other ways to disseminate those films, where like because of the way that things spread in gaming culture, it's very difficult without these storefronts to get things out there, right?
Well, right, and also how people cluster based on their preferences and habits. And I think hopefully a moment like this is if you value work like this, and it is now an open question on whether, if you've genuinely relied on, I will open Steam, I will open Epic or whatever, and like I'll be able to find enough you will find enough to play. But if you want to be exposed to different kinds of work, like transgressive work that like pushes at boundaries, I think you can comfortably say at this moment, like, you cannot have that, even if like Horses is some weird outlier because whatever scene was in an early build spooked Valve to the point that they said, we're just not engaging with this work regardless of what you do going forward. Let's not even benefit the doubt. Let's just assume that's a path. The fact that path exists at all, and there wasn't a path for the developer to rectify that or modify it, means you should just assume the worst case scenario, which is that many works like this, adjacent works, will never appear on Steam. And you should check your own habits and be like, I need to go to places like itch. Make that part of my gaming culture diet to like look through what is here, what can I experience here, and importantly, then spending your money in those places, especially because places like itch also tend to have better. The developers get more of your money.
Yes.
As a result of that, can't you also overpay on itch if you want past the?
There's also like I think they're every year, it's either once a year or like maybe a few times a year, they have like a developers get all the profits day where it's like, so that also is really cool. And it's just, even outside of the guidelines things, like itch and other storefronts just tend to just be easier to get your game up. Like that's usually where games exist first. I mean, even like on a larger scale of things, why am I blanking on the name of the game? Horror game. It was shown at SGF. Fear the Spotlight. Like Fear the Spotlight first appeared like on itch, full build, regular game. They eventually like took it down for a little bit of time, like the developers did. They got like more funding, got a publisher, and like expanded the game, and then that's like what you see on Steam. So it's just like even if you just want to be on like the kind of cutting edge, the ground floor of indie, like that itch is where it's going to happen. I think too, for like a game like that, buy it and don't play it. It's no different than you buying games that you also don't play.
Right?
How many games do we have that we
games
haven't
are
played?
in your backlog? Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I don't want to talk about that. Don't bring it up. Don't ask, Janet. Don't ask.
How is buying this and not playing it different than anything else that you were gonna do? It's not. I've done that for games before where there was like a studio where they like had unionized, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It's like a genre I didn't play that much. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy it. If I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, they got some money. And guess what? I never got to it, but guess what? That's most of the games that I have. So if you're, and I think too, at the end of the day, all of it is about like protecting money, right? So like on one hand, if this game sells a lot, I'm sure Steam, Valve, etc. can look at it and just be like, well, people are just buying it for like the sake of the controversy or whatever. But also they, could look at that and be like, damn, maybe we fucked up a little bit. So I think it's also kind of fun to speak with your wallet in that way of like, hey, let's do that. Also help out because like Danika mentioned, like they rely on a threshold of sales, and already this is like a game that is like niche. So even on Steam, it wasn't exactly going to be like selling wildly, and I'm sure they knew that going into it. But that's like a huge market. I mean, I think there are a lot of players that don't even really know about other storefronts. Even me working like in the space directly, like I was telling Chi before we recorded, I don't use GOG like at all.
No,
like the only thing I have in there was like
GOG.
it's Horses and it's Cyberpunk 2077. I was like, I'm like, what kind of whose library is this for? So I think we all have our own tendencies, but to what you said, Patrick, maybe check that and make sure that you have something that has a little bit more range, because as we're seeing from this, Steam, Epic, some of the biggest players are very limited. I think the last thing I want to say too is like what sucks is that like there's so many rules for like getting your game onto a storefront in terms of deadlines, timelines, things you have to have. But on the other side, like there's no courtesy on the other end. There's no, oh, if we're going to drop you, we have to drop you within X days of your release date. Like they can really just do anything they want. And like, and that sucks. And it's like, on one hand, you can say, oh, well, that's their business. They can run it how they want to. It's like, yeah, but you don't have to be an asshole. You choose to be an asshole. And it's like unfortunate that there isn't, you know, any time of timeline when it comes the other way. And there's like such like a power shift in that way. That is really unfortunate, because it makes it so that developers really just can't plan for anything, and that nothing is like really safe, which I think is also scary and stressful when it's your livelihood.
I have to just say really quick also about playing this game. Patrick, when you mentioned like the big like thing that you agree to, I didn't read that, because when my game opened, I got the itch version. I almost said itch version, which is very funny. It opened in square resolution, and from the opening menu, it was not clear to me that the game was not square. So I was like, oh, this must be like part of like the whole like thing of the game is like you can't really read what you're agreeing to. Like this is kind of weird, but agree, I guess. So just keep in mind, yeah, make your screen wider if it defaults to a square screen.
Oh wait, so the game is not intentionally 4:3?
No, it is.
It is, but my version opened square.
That's 4:3. That's.
Yeah.
Oh no, but my never.
It's
but,
meant to be square.
But my whole agreement was I could only see the center.
That was a
scrolling.
different bug. Mine showed up normal.
Oh,
Yeah.
it like cropped in a weird way for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can't read the agreement, just
that's funny, because you could. It is
screen.
Oh my god, you could view the inability to read the
I was like,
content
oh, this
warning
must
as
be
a form of, like,
subversive.
artistic,
What's happening here?
expression
Like,
of itself.
oh,
Like,
that's what I thought was going on.
No, I think that was just a bug.
Don't be.
It might have been that
fool
the
like
resolution
me.
was bigger than the physical the window was, right? Like
Maybe, yeah,
I did notice
probably.
that when I opened my settings the first time, it was windowed, but then the resolution was like as big as my my screen. So I hit full screen just to like make it full screen, and like everything showed up fine.
Mess
So
with
it's
your
possible that
settings.
it's rendering within the box, but rendering at the full screen size on the default.
just to clarify, I had mentioned before that the game had been potentially rated by the ESRB, which is not true. They use something called IARC, which is the International Age Rating Coalition. It basically is like, because so many different regions and storefronts have different ways of handling ratings, it's a way that, like, especially for mobile developers and independent developers, to fill out a questionnaire that can then get pulled in by these other regions, but then those other regions or ratings bodies can ask for additional scrutiny. So, like, if the ESRB, I believe the way the ESRB works, like, they actually play, they have people, if you want an ESRB rating, someone has to sit and play through the game or certain content that you disclose. And so it didn't necessarily, like, the suggestion was, when these developers filled out it, that the questionnaire told them, based on what you filled out, this game would get an M rating, or I forget what the equivalent for Peggy 18,
AO, right?
Because I remember that from all the trailers. Peggy 18. That's probably what it would have been. That's what, if this went through the ratings body, this questionnaire suggests this is what your game would get, and then it proceeds from there. What Epic is alleging is that when they filled out the game, or filled out the questionnaire, it came back as AO. And so I just wanted to clarify that it had not formally gone through these ratings bodies. It had gone through this questionnaire. And Epic is saying that when they filled it out, it came back as AO. Now, what does it mean that they filled it out? How did they... You know what I mean? This comes back to a lot of the friction with these storefronts is, okay, you filled it out and it came out that way, but why did it come back that way? How did you phrase things? What was the hierarchy of your value? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
show us the screenshots and receipts.
Show us the screenshots.
Otherwise, fuck you.
Right. Right, and I don't think you should give these storefronts the benefit of the doubt. I think there is plenty of reason to suspect that they're going to act more conservative in nature, especially when Epic wants to control the metaverse. Steam wants to be the biggest platform in the PC ecosystem. And it's just funny because Epic wants to position themselves as like, we're the renegades, bro. Like, fuck the monopoly that's Steam. Also, like, pixelated, like, dicks. No, can't do it. Like, too far. Whereas GOG is out here basically saying, like, hey.
Dicks, we got him.
I mean,
but it's saying we're going to be, like, this is a reason to shop here. Like, we're going to value this
the
art.
genitals in Cyberpunk 2077 aren't censored on Steam, right?
No, they're not. They're out there.
They're out
but they're
there.
also not.
Conan?
Are
The
they being
Conan
used?
game?
Wait, isn't there sex
people
in The
hanging
Witcher?
down?
Isn't there sex in The Witcher?
Yes.
And that,
Yes.
and you see ass.
Now, this is big games versus small games. And again, this is where
Right.
what porn, like, what sex, I don't want to use the term porn, although there's lots of porn, explicit, just porn on Steam. But, like, what sex is allowed by these storefronts, right? Like, that is ultimately, like, what is their interpretation of sex? What is their criteria for, like, what is the borderline? Because obviously Steam is fine with porn. Like, there's tons of porn all over Steam. And that's where the lack of clarity on, and the idea that this if we take the developer's statement at face value of something in their game crossed a line, and then instead of being given an opportunity to rectify that, Valve just said, we're done. Steam as a platform said, we're done. We're out. We're not, like, that's just not, like, I don't think that's how that process should work. If the developer keeps trying to appeal and Steam says, this still crosses a line for us, that, like, fine. That is Steam's prerogative. It makes sense that a storefront is going to say, we choose to not list everything, but here's why we're not listing this. And it just doesn't feel like that happened here. And increasingly between culture war, payment processor fronts, and Steam having always been opaque. Like, this is just not a company that likes to talk about process. And that is just increasingly untenable when you are so responsible for propping up, like, the art form of video games and how people pay their bills. Like, at a certain point, like, you have to expect more transparency from the company on why they make the decisions that they make. And you still may disagree with them, but they owe it to developers, to the culture, to do more. Unfortunately, that just probably won't come without forcing their hand, which requires Congress to do something about it, which won't happen.
It blows my mind that they allow hundreds and hundreds of games that are made by AI on their platform, and they don't allow, like, a 90-minute game made by a human that depicts darker themes. Like, it's just wild to me.
Yeah.
This is kind of beside the point, but there was one funny, like, thing that popped out at me from the Epic Games response, which was products with AO ratings cannot be distributed on the Epic Game Store. The only exception is for products in case where AO rating was applied solely due to the usage of blockchain or NFT technology.
Yep.
That's
the good shit.
Oh God, we live in hell.
Yes.
Like, these are the people fucking controlling what art gets out into the goddamn world. Which brings me to a thing I've been meaning to trying to say for a little bit when we were talking more about, like, how things spread and, like, ways that you can support these sort of things too. Is, like, I've also tried my best to try to take the tact recently of, like, following, like, individuals and studios more than, like, platforms as, like, the place to, like, find things, right? Like, we have to start spreading the word and also, like, supporting the artists and devs in that sort of way than, like, especially in the indie space where, like, these teams are a lot smaller, where it's like, I found things they've made in the past interesting. I have the, like, Google alert or whatever the fuck, right? Like, whatever way I can keep up with them on social media, like, and, like, it's a hard thing to do because development times are so long. You can kind of forget about a studio in between like games when it's like it's been 2 or 3 years since I've heard from you last. But I think it's worthwhile to like keep those like sort of methods of like dissemination and spreading through word of mouth like open, because at a certain point it's going to be the only way some things get out there at all, right?
So we'll see what happens from here. I think GOG has drawn a line in the sand, like by putting out a public statement saying we're supporting this game, we think it should be here. It's hard to imagine that they would go back on that. And itch is obviously not going to fold absent some sort of payment processor kerfuffle as happened in recent months. But I'll give them credit. Like, the devs had a plan, which is, all right, we're gonna lean into the like horses is too hot for Steam. Like, come play our banned game. Which I have to admit, when I first saw the website fully prepared with like a FAQ and all these questions, I'm like, I was rolling my eyes a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, like this is, because you'll see this oftentimes, especially in like horror adjacent media, which is like, you shouldn't watch this shit. Like, you can't handle it. And it's like, okay, like, calm down. Like, it's the kind of stuff you're talking about, like, Chia, where it's like, it's provocative, like, it's edgy. Like, it's edgelord
Right, it's
bullshit.
edgy, not like thought provoking.
Developer, given their history, should be granted more grace than that. But I've just seen that stunt pulled so many times that I'm like, oh, come on. Like, we're banned from Steam. Like, come play. And I think it's much more nuanced than that. I at least my impulse is not to look at this as so cynically that the developers were including content to explicitly get themselves banned to generate headlines. I think they've leaned into that both to try and save the studio, to try and like drive artistic and financial interest in what they made. And also, I think whether this developer lives or dies, obviously I hope they go on to continue making interesting work, has sparked like a really important discussion about the roles of these gatekeepers, where we're drawing these cultural lines. And then, as we've said, finding ways in your personal life to, you have to take the extra step to like go support this stuff. Like, it's not going to always just end up in front of you. You have to seek it out. And even if you don't want to play it, sometimes it's just like, you may not want to play horses, but like, maybe go spend some money either on them. Maybe they're getting enough attention that you don't feel like, maybe they don't need it. But like, maybe you find another developer on itch and it's like, well, they probably do. And I think finding
like,
ways in your life to support
they
stuff
have
like that is worthwhile.
other games that are
nothing like
I was
this.
just about to
Yeah,
say,
like, yes.
like,
Wheels of
Wheels of
Aurelia.
Like,
Wheels of Aurelia.
I've been telling y'all since that thing
If you
dropped.
still want
is
something
heat.
from them, Saturnalia was good apparently, right? That was
these are all on itch, right? Like,
yeah,
these are
100%.
Yeah, you can check these all out. You can, like, a lot of their stuff is on Windows and Mac. I don't think Horses is on Mac. I think that's PC.
No, it's not.
But,
I know it's the Mac freak of the group.
Yeah. But like, yes,
boot
like,
into my
you could-
PC and open OBS.
that if you want to support horses but like don't give a shit about horses, like, download Wheels of Aurelia, which Janet gave a full endorsement for, and like the money goes to the same studio. So well, we will keep an eye on this as things go forward, and I'll finish the game between now and next week, and we'll circle back around on our thoughts on the actual art that they made, which, and it's been, good to talk about what it means, but also at a certain point, it's like, all right, well, let's talk about what they actually tried to say and whether we found that meaningful. So hopefully we can do that next week, but we're going to take a quick break. We have a ton of video games that all of us have been playing, especially with the most recent holiday break. So let's get out of news, take a break. We'll come back and talk about all the video games that we've been playing.